Good morning and welcome to Thursday, the 24th of June 2021. This is the Good Morning Education Show, and we are excited to have you join us this morning. We're live with you on the road this morning, and it's really, we just have to be here to bring you the show. To every of our tribe members, we say good morning. And to those joining us for the first time, thank you for being here. We are glad and excited to have you on the show this morning. Let's know where you're joining us from. We will drop a comment in the comment section. We would like to welcome you and acknowledge you from where you are joining us from. We For those joining us for the first time, we would usually start off with headlines from the dailies today that have to do with education or related to education before we go into the topic for the day. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to a beautiful show with you this morning. We will be starting off with our headlines for today. The headlines from the dailies this morning. First, sorry. The first headline: UTME 2021 UTME JAM announces date to release exam results. Well, I think we've had enough of JAM in the news, so um, we will just skip this and go to the next one. But they have announced the dates for the release of the exam results. So for those who are affected, you might want to check that out to know when the results will be out. Our next headline: Afe Babalola Abuad will be best in the world. That's the Afe Babalola University, Ado Ekiti. The chancellor, I believe, is the founder of the university. The Abuad has been setting the pace. They have tried to keep up with standard of excellence, and the Chief Afe Babalola is making this very bold statement, and he's reassuring that our board will be the best in the world. We look forward to them holding up this promise, and other Nigerian universities following suit and setting the pace in the world of education and for Nigerian students. Safety experts gift e-library to PTI this morning. Okay, the next headline says safety experts gift e-library to PTI. That's the Petroleum Training Institute in Efon. And from the news, the e-library is one of its kind. Uh, it's a really valuable gift to the institute, and we kudos to the American Society of Safety Professionals, the Nigerian chapter, for doing this. When we have more of collaborations like this, when we have more of people chiming in, doing their part to contribute to education, yes, it's welcome. It's a good one, and we're hoping that the school maintains this library, because it's one thing to be gifted to be given an opportunity or gifted, and it's another thing to keep it running. Our next headline: federal government laments math, science, phobia. So, the federal government, through the Ministry of Education, is lamenting the the phobia of Nigerian students to do more of science and math related subjects. They say that these are the Minister of Science and Technology, that's Dr. Obunaya Ono, said that Nigeria's continued reliance on other countries for the importation of all things was no longer acceptable. It's not just about the importation. We see that even in collaborations and um, in you see when things are donated or buildings are erected, most of them are coming from the international community. And they're saying that that more Nigerian students are running away from math and science, and that our development as a country is hinged on the subject. I think that is being a little myopic because we can't say that our development is entirely attached to science and mathematics. It should be an all-round thing, and the minister should be looking at making, maybe they should be considering a curriculum change. What's making students avoid the subject? Is it that it's too difficult? Is it the teaching? Is it the concept? What is it that makes students avoid this? We should be looking at this and how to correct it, and how to get more students into doing more of science and arts. Science and mathematics. Our next headline: Lagos celebrates albinos. Lagos celebrates albinos. At the point, one of the topics we took was leaving no child behind, and a um, part of Lagos State's dedication and ensuring that this is achieved. It was the celebration of albino children in commemoration of the International Albinism Awareness Day for pupils and students in primary and secondary schools. The permanent secretary of the Lagos State Ministry of Education, Mrs. Abosede Adelaja, has admonished the public against harassment, stigmatization, and humiliation because of the difference in the color of hair and skin. Interestingly, last week I came across, or I think it was earlier this week, I came across a comment by a lady who is an albino, and the the challenges she has faced growing up, being in school, the way the name calling, when you go Pepe and all of that. Many times we don't know that these things have effect on the people when we, name call them, body shame them. And so many students are in schools, well, albino students, and they're not doing very well, maybe because of their eyesight, because of the shaming, because of the name calling. They don't really they can't really stay in school. It's distracting for them. They are not finding it very easy and convenient to stay in school. But with this that the Lagos State government has done, we are believing that more awareness will be raised amongst stakeholders, amongst students, amongst teachers, to understand that we need to all contribute our quota to ensure that albino students, to not make them feel different, to not see them differently, and for them to be given a chance to learn and to be the best they can be in as students and in school. Okay, the next headline: Cognitive activities not enough. NAPS tells private schools. Schools that focus on academics may not be getting the best out of their pupils. This was the submission of the national president of the National Association of Proprietors of Private Schools, NAPS. He advised that schools should infuse more of extracurricular activities into their academic program every term. You know, that at a point, one of the topics we discussed was about the playground and students or children learning through play. This helps with building the cognitive. This helps with building the cognitive domain of the children, not just the academic, not just the academic aspect of their learning. And we have too many private schools coming up without space for play, without space for playground. And this call by the president, I hope, was something that they will take seriously, look into, and ensure that there is space for their students to learn. Okay, the next headline: NYSC to establish clinics in communities. Uh, Earlier in the week, we had a headline about the NYSC giving. They had a community outreach. I think in Lagos State they had a community outreach, and the person in charge was advising residents about their health, taking their health seriously, being conscious of what they do, where they do it, how they do it, and if the NYSC is planning to establish clinics in communities, especially in their host communities, I think that is another step in the right direction already. Well, one of the reasons why NYC exists is to foster, nationalism, to help communities develop, and through the youth that are posted, fresh graduates that are posted to their communities. So establishing clinics for me is another way to contribute to these communities, especially remote communities, villages where there is not much presence of national or state health services. So with this, we say kudos to NYSC, and that hoping to see this plan go from just being a plan to actually being implemented, and not just being implemented, being well maintained, being well staffed, being well equipped, and being of help and service to the communities. Before we go off on that, we have comments left by Abigail Aditola about the math and science phobia that students have. She says some math teachers make science difficult. Some even go as far as saying it's a difficult subject and harp on how hard it is. They harp on about how difficult math is. No child wants something tagged difficult when there are other easy and interesting ones. Absolutely. I remember that I had that phobia for math also. It looked like, or the way it was being taught, it made it look very abstract. It looked really, and then it seemed the teachers just were on the line, they were just towing the line to make it look like, oh, you can't understand this, you can't pass this. So we really need to be looking at the teaching of math and science, especially math. Science can be quite interesting because of practicals, in biology, in chemistry. Physics can be very quite like math also. And we really need to look at the way the subjects are presented, the way they are taught, and the way they are passed across to students. Thank you very much for your comments, Abigail Adetola. And so our last headline for today: school reminds pupils of Nigeria's cultural heritage. Um, the Language, Arts and Cultural Day at Chrisland Schools, Lagos, provides an opportunity to remind its pupils of Nigeria's rich cultural heritage, says its principal. Then this is something that for a school to dedicate a day to language, arts, and culture, it's something that we really, really need to applaud, to commend, because we have a lot of students or of children, Nigerian children, growing these days without a sense of that they're losing their cultural identity, and all in a bid for parents to that thing of, oh, I want my children to be exposed, I want them to have a bit of everything, I want them to know what is happening around the world. Yes, they can be global citizens without losing their national or cultural identity. And kudos to Chrisland Schools on this, reminding students, reminding children that our culture is beautiful, our culture is colorful, our culture has essence, has meaning. Our culture is not just is not bad. The way we make it look like the dresses we wear are boring, the hairstyles we have are boring, our songs, more of our children are singing songs by American musicians or British musicians than they even know musicians in Nigeria. But for them to get immersed into our culture, our language, they can speak our language. That's one thing. Not many Nigerian children speak their language. But kudos to Chrisland for what they're doing in ensuring that our culture is upheld, and that our culture is upheld. Thank you very much, Chris Land. Okay, I see another headline: NIMET builds weather station to boost agriculture and learning at MOU Asia. MOU. Okay, so the Nigerian Meteorological Department, I believe, has built a weather station at the Michael Okpara University. The VC said something about that this had been in the pipeline before he became maybe the substantive VC, or before he became the VC at all. And he was glad that they had this weather station to help them with the university is a university of agriculture. And so having that weather station, number one, is the students seeing in real time, it's practical to them, and as they can also use it to boost plant production, boost planting, harvesting, and all of that. So kudos to NIMET, and congratulations to the Michael Okpara University. We are joined by another of our analysts. Good morning, Dr. Abimbola Ogundiri.
For some reason,
can
I
you hear
can't
me?
hear clearly, so I'm wondering. Good morning.
Okay, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Something is happening. What is happening? What could it be?
I
I
can
can't
hear
even
you.
hear.
I can hear you very clearly.
Let me go out and try and come back in. Maybe I missed a step.
All right then. All right. Okay. We have another headline: UNICEF task. Before we take the headline, our substantive host is here. The prof of the Good Morning Education Show Academy is Yeah, I know
I
I
think that
cannot get
deserves
into
a bell
trouble.
of blessing, isn't it? So, good morning, everyone. Thank you. Of course, uh, it's a great morning, and thank you to the internet. So, I say good morning to the internet. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Dr. Bimbo. Good morning, Abigail. Been a long
What's
time.
happening?
Great morning here. We're streaming from Lagos, Nigeria to West Africa to Africa and the entire world. And we have the
I can't
author of the
hear. Why
writing
can't I hear?
here. Hello, maybe you should check the audio of your device. Can you hear us now? Dr. Bimbo, good morning.
I don't know. Something is happening. I can't hear.
Okay, it's probably the
Okay.
audio of our device.
Yes, you should check the speaker. No problem. I'll try to reach out to that. All right. So we are currently on another headline. Sophie, you can still continue. You're doing very well. Over to you.
Thank you. Okay, UNICEF tasked Nigeria on safe schooling. I don't think this is something that we really need an external body or an external organization to tell us that there is a need for safe schooling for in the country. We all listen to the news. We all see what's going on. We all hear what's going on, and it's students in Nigeria are becoming an endangered species. So really, this is really not even too much up for discussion. Just apart from tasking the government on doing this, we really need to set the government up and doing and actually doing something about security in Nigeria. I saw his kids some days ago, Basket Mouth, yeah, I believe Basket Mouth, talking about the amount of billions and trillions that have gone into fighting insecurity. And he was making it very clear that they've been fighting insecurity. They're not ensuring security yet. But this time around, we are asking that please let security be put in place and let's stop fighting insecurity, please. Uh, I guess we've come to the end of the headlines this morning.
Yes, we have. So we're going straight to the
Uh,
conversation of the day, where we'll still look forward to Dr. Bimbo joining us. It's such a pleasure to be here. And once again, if you're connecting with us for the first time, please do let us know. We have the bell of blessing for you. And we look forward to having a great time with you all on the show. Um, yes, so today we'll be talking about something important. I'm not letting you out yet. So
no,
wherever
I'm
you are
really
feeling,
still here. I just need to take a sip of
all right.
water.
Oh, let's see how you drink water. So you teach us how to drink water. So today we're talking about out of options, and it's a robust topic because we're going to take it from different angle. And I'll ask Finn to do an introduction to that, and afterwards we'll take the conversation into the place of questioning. Please, as our audience are there, we would like you to ask your questions. If you do have questions, do not hesitate to ask questions, and we look forward to also your contributions as well. Thank you. Hey, over to you.
Okay, so when we talk about being out of options, it means really there were existing options, and for some reasons, we have run out of these options. But when we hear about people doing extreme things, we say sometimes, oh, he had no option, he was left with no option, or she was left with no option, or the teacher did not have any other option but to do what they did, or the school did not have any other option to. Sometimes we use that as an excuse to get away with, I think, bad behavior sometimes. Other times we use it to get away with a lack of creativity. We're not just thinking about it deeply enough. And so we just said, look, I didn't have any other options. But really, is it true that we can really run out of options? As many as the different ways that we can do things as we have so many ways of doing the same thing. So our discussion this morning will be around really, is it possible for us to be out of options? Is it possible for us to be stuck and say, oh, at this point, there really was nothing else I could do? And realizing that nothing means that nothing else existed. There was no other way, there was no other thing to be done or that could have been done. So these are things we will look at when the school maybe changes its mode of operation, maybe because this is essentially for educators and for education. So we're looking at this, maybe there's a new management, or the school is transferred from one owner to a new owner, and the new owner says, no, I want things done this way, or I'm abolishing that, or and people just come up with that thing of, look, I had no other option but to do this, I had no other option but to do that. How do we deal with change? How do we handle change? Or personally, we have some inhibitions that stand in the way of maybe giving our best or trying some other ways of doing, or it's just stuck in our head. It's been this way. It's always been this way. That thing of, as it was in the beginning, so is now, and so will it ever be. Does it have to be that way?
Options without end instead of world without end.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Options without end. Options unending.
All right, thank you so much for that brief. I think that it's very important that we all out there get to understand that there will be a time in our professional career, there'll be a time in our lives, there'll be a time in our pursuits. Okay, Dr. Bimba, are you able to hear us now?
Yes, I can hear now. I can hear now.
Blessing to your device. Blessing. All right, so we're talking about out of option, and he gave us a very lovely introduction. And I believe that this is something that is practical to everyone out there. There will be times where, as we run projects, as we run operations in our individual organizations, even in our schools, as we teach within the learning space, there will be time we'll feel like, there's no other method that is working. We seem to be running out of options. And even the superhumans out of us still experience such reality. One way or the other, we feel that it's like our results are closing in sharply on us. What do we do in such situations? What should be our disposition? What method can we take? And should there be a foundational challenge with the concept of running out of options? He even mentioned, is it possible to run out of options? I think that's the first question we need to ask this morning. So, Dr. Bimbo, can it be a reality, or is it possible to run out of options?
So, as you were speaking, morning everyone, it's good to have you. Apologies for my poor tech skills. So I had to go out, come in, but I'm here again. Good morning, Fee. Good morning, Mr. Itayo. So as you were speaking, so many things were running through my mind. The first is, I think that, the concept of running out of options is a mental state, right? I think it's a mental state. It is your approach to looking at the issues or the challenges that would make you then think, okay, you know what? I'm out of options. I don't think that anyone can ever run out of options. That is my own belief, right? I think that there's always a way. Let's just go a bit spiritual, a bit biblical and all that, right? There is always a way, right? But it's when we are in that stretched, tired, burnt out, nervous and anxious state that we begin to think to ourselves, okay, you know what? I don't have any options. So let's talk about prevention, because I always say, at times you need to prevent something before you cure. I rather I prevent it than looking for a cure. So how do you prevent, yourself from getting to that state that you will mentally come to the conclusion that you are out of options? Number one, again, is your mindset, right? That abundance mindset, that resourcefulness. I tell people that, that resourcefulness is extremely important, that you have, your skills, you have the knowledge that you have your connections and your network and your people, right? So you are not just intelligent, or it's not just, you're not relying on only yourself as a resource, right? So of course, first is you must become a resource. You must become a problem-solving machine. You must become someone who is able to identify and solve problems. You must develop yourself into that person, right? You must, but after you are done with self, then you must go and say, okay, what's my support system like? What kind of people am I surrounded by, right? And then you tap into those people's resources as well. Because at times I don't know what to do, right? But I'm aware enough to know that there is an option. I've just not figured it out. So if my brain can't tell me the option, what do? I go to other people and say, hey, Oga, this is what is happening. Madam, this is what is happening. What do you think I can do? So at times I just lean on other people as well. So that is why you must develop a good relationship with people as well. So there are so many things. But I don't think that one can, run out of options.
Thank you very much. Just what you said, the last two statements kind of opened up a vista where we need to realize that not knowing what to do is not necessarily the same thing as being out of option. I really love that I was able to deduce that, because yes, as human beings, a particular point time T, you might not know exact thing to do. And there are different reasons for that. We are human beings. But then it doesn't mean that there are no options, You just might be shocked that, there's this popular statement people make, that what you are looking for in Sokoto might just be in Sokoto, So sometimes there are things around you, within you, that might be clues or answers to what you're looking for. But at that point in time, it feels like you don't have answers, or you don't have results, you don't have solutions. So really, options really are things that, like you said, when we feel that we are out of option, it's first more or less like a mental state or reality for people. Yeah, which takes me to the next question. I'd like to start with Faye. So why do we get to this point? Why do we think there are no options? Why do people really, or better still, permit me to use, why do people run out of options? Because they don't, there's really no reality on that, but people say they run out of options. Faye, could you just give us like one or two?
The people seem to run out of option because they have reached the limits that they would permit themselves to think. They haven't reached the limit of their thinking capacity or their thinking capability, but they have reached the limit they would allow themselves to think. And, finding options or creating options has a lot to do with creativity, has a lot to do with the mindset, has a lot to do with being open to change, being open to a different perspective, a different worldview. So some teachers will say, for example, oh, I had no other option but to beat the child. There are plenty other options. There are many other ways to get the child to agree or to cooperate with you to do what you wanted him to do. But because it's been all we know is the picture of the teacher has to be somebody that holds a cane in their hand. So just believe that if they're not cooperating, the next thing to do is to beat the child. Meanwhile, there are many other ways of getting them to cooperate without them even realizing that they are already cooperating. They just find themselves there and they're like, oh, miss, I had one of my students say that to me once, like, oh, miss, I see what you did there. he was already doing what I asked him to do without even realizing it. And I think another reason that people feel they're out of options is because of this secretive nature. We don't want to speak out. We don't want to talk. So I'm running out of options of what to do because of maybe the state I'm in at the moment. I'm not able to really sit down to consider other options, but I don't want the other person to feel like I don't know what I'm doing. I don't want the other person to feel like, oh, I'm inadequate. I don't want them to talk about me at the when they have small groups of teachers discussing. So I say I'd rather keep it to myself and say, look, everything is fine, everything is okay, we're good. And that thing of us not being vulnerable by nature,
Vulnerable.
a set of people that are not we're not very good with vulnerability. So our inability to be vulnerable also makes it look like we have limited options or that we have run out of options.
Thank you so much. While you were speaking, Titi joined us. Good morning, Titi. Hello.
Good morning! Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. It's a good morning.
I'm sure
Okay.
Dr. Bimbo is just looking at us and like, who are these guys, man? we are cool like that. Okay. All right. And then good morning, Omobola Olaibe. Thank you for reaching out to us from Lagos. Finn, you mentioned something, and I think I want to add this before bringing the question to Titi. Um, I know that there's a lot of mindset challenge, but there's also a sight set challenge. I think that most people become what they see. There's this correlation with how you see or what you see is what you become. So a lot of people have this sight set, even though their mindset is a disposition that is fixed, but what they begin to see, most of the time when we probe and research things, we always start with the negative extremes. And those things make us to feel like we're out of options. So you hear people talk about plan B. As good as plan B is, it should not make people still on plan A feel that they are worse of human beings, or make their plan B feel like it's grade D of plan B. You understand what I'm trying to say? So it's very important that our sight set is important. And then we need to begin to probe. A lot of times people don't probe, and probing is through the use of questioning, as the case may be. So I like to, Titi, we're talking about running out of options or out of options. That's what the conversation is about today. And I'm sure that you have your thoughts and you have your perceptions, but let me try to paint a picture in your mind, right? In addressing resourcefulness, right? I know that sometimes uh, you hear people say that if your method is not working, change another method. And when we come to the education system, to be precise, we've had mixture of cocktails of curriculum. What can we do when it seems like everything does not seem to work like it should work in a place like Nigeria, for example? Normal conventional policies seem not to work the way it works in other clients. Normal policy change, normal implementation and stuff. So what's your take on that, Titi?
Okay, Rotimi, I like what you said when you said that it's only when we see we are limited by the options that we see. People think everything over there works perfectly, but it doesn't. And that's the truth. It doesn't work perfectly. I mean, if you sit down and follow, teacher communities in America or teachers communities in the UK, it's filled with lamentations. It's filled with odds. To be honest, the similar issues that we have here in Nigeria, issues of poor funding, issues of another very popular issues is of poor school outcomes, low literacy levels. Sometimes I'm amazed. I'm like, these people that we are saying that they are better than us, are they having the same issues? They do, But the difference is that we focus on the good news, the good stories, what is working, and I think it's really what you had said earlier about we need to look at all the options. Let's never see only one story. I always refer to Chimamanda where say that the thing of having only one story. So with all
The
that is being,
danger of a single story.
even in the public sector, people can talk about the public sector, but you know what? I've gone to places, public schools where the principal is really doing a lot, irrespective of the limitations. And I think those are the stories that we need to bring to the forefront so that people don't feel that there's no option. People don't feel that it's only bleak, it's only bad news. They're actually, in the midst of all the imperfections, there are things that people can do to just be making some progress. We might not be the kind of progress we want to, we might not be doing it in the leaps and the bounds that we would really love to, but at least let's be making progress rather than being static. So for me, that's what I would say. We need to show the good and the bad. It's in all the situations, whichever country you look at it. Even Finland, that is being used as what I'll call the poster child of education, they also have doing education reforms. So that means that there's nobody that has reached utopia. We are all work in progress. Some people have made progress in more areas than others, but nothing is perfect. So I think we also need to always have that and see all the various options that are there. Once you look at other people's circumstances, you then see that there are options. In the midst of all that, there are options. Even when people talk about Nigeria here, in the midst of all the problems, there are still options. And I think it's to expose people to more and more of those options in the midst of an imperfect, or in the midst of an imperfect system. I hope I've made some sense.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. I think I should ask Dr. Bimbo, being a school leader, a school owner, an educator, or working with different educators as well. What do you think is the pulse that is out there when it comes to people, looking at what to do with our education model and system? Especially, I'm not talking about now government-wise. I'm talking about like private school-wise, school leaders-wise. Do you feel it's a scenario of running out of options, or there's this subtle, it's like a body language that we're not ready to create our game.
Can you hear me?
Just want to wait for. Yes, we can. We can.
Okay, what was your last statement? It cracked a bit. It cracked up.
So I said it seems like we're waiting for other people to give us the rule of the game. I'm sensing that there's a body language that doesn't tilt towards us being disruptive.
For me, like I always say, every aspect of Nigeria is a part of Nigeria and the Nigerian system, right? I think that if someone decides, a group, a people, whatever, decides to just come up, and say, okay, you know what? This is the Nigerian education system, and let us sit down and decide what we want it to be, right? And in a way that is going to be relevant to us as Nigerians. But you see, what is happening now is that everybody is adopting, right? Or adapting, one of the two. We're all, what was that British curriculum? Yes, adopting. British curriculum, pam, let's go. American curriculum, let's do this. Finish. Japanese, Singaporean, there's confusion and chaos, right? So I don't, because before you can be a disruptor, right? You must have sat with this gist and say, okay, you know what exists and what do we want? Then let's figure out how to create what we want. Disruption comes from creation as well. Disruption is still a measure of creation. But because we are used to being fed, I don't think we're even being fed. We are used to, I don't use word stealing. I don't know, am I sounding harsh? We're used to just taking somebody else's thing and calling it our own, So the mindset of let's gather together and get it done is not there, right? And I don't also think that is there an enabling, so an enabling environment for someone to think that I can do it and it can, it can become relevant and be adapted, right? So I don't think the body language there's no body language. People are just, oh, is it British curriculum? I still have someone coming to inquire about the college and they say, what curriculum are you using? I say Nigerian. Hey, Nigerian curriculum, and that's a parent. The parent doesn't want to hear Nigerian curriculum. So if you're in the market, what happens? Do you see what I mean? So I don't know. I've not seen any body language about disrupting anything. Hey, it's true now, Titi. Somebody you want to sell a market. People you want to sell markets to are telling you that they want Singaporean plus British, and then you make a U-turn in Finland before you come to Lagos. They are there saying no, it's a Nigerian curriculum. So it is everything. I want to be, if there's a disruption, I want to be part of it. I want to even start it. But I then say that okay, we start it. Then what happens? So I don't know if I've answered your question. I don't want to. Did I sound defeatist? I feel like I sounded defeated. I don't know what's that. No. That's the right answer to that question because I feel like even me, I sound defeated. But this is the reality on ground. So I don't know. I don't know.
You know what, people? I'm even laughing more. So I know someone that has children, did this British curriculum outside the country, and then they now went to Canada, and when they got to Canada, they struggled because it was a different curriculum. So in the end, you see this curriculum, it's like going to take something that works somewhere and just bring it all into Nigeria. It will not just work like that. So everything is always in the context of, the people using it and where they're using it. In the end, beyond curriculum would always be your ability to, solve problems. And those things simply mean when I go into an environment, I use the knowledge I have of myself and that community to then make a change. And it will always be the same. So wherever you put a person that has learned and grown up with that, they will survive. And that's really where we need to shift focus to, in beyond anything. That's why if you take a Nigerian that has been given an average education and take them anywhere in the world, they will not sink. If you take an average Nigerian that has gotten, average education and go and put them, because after a while, they just, especially once the person had an average education, they just talk about problem solving, critical thinking. When we just say, oh, this is what I need to do, you find out we might not be swimming like what's this?
Michael Phelps,
but they would not be drowning. So we need to, and as I said, we need to shift focus in a lot of things beyond all this, whether it's British curriculum, this American colonial. I didn't even know you could go to Singapore. Is to say, are we helping our children to think? Can they think? That's just my own. Can they think? Because of all the issues with the Nigerian curriculum, that's the only part I really have with it. Can we think? Once your child can think, the child is fine.
So, which shows that a lot of us are actually out of options because if we look at it, the factors why people feel out of options is because they don't think. They have the ability to think. They don't think. And when we say think, there are stratas in thinking. I'm sure Titi, you are aware of that, because we think based on concern. And then we move from concern to consideration, and that's where options begin to come out. On their own accord, you are able to throw questions at your thoughts because you have moved from the thought concern point to the consideration, where you are now open to shifting grounds based on choice. And when we choose, we are choosing between functionality, we are choosing between objectivity, we're choosing between outcome, we're choosing between a lot of factors. And a lot of people don't know that. And that's why sometimes it's not all the time that decisions should meet the eye, as it were. And of course, the back end of what Dr. Bimbo said is that now, if you take a decision on a particular thing in the sector and it sounds disruptive, but it's not market driven, you might be on a solo ride. And that's a very true statement. But also, we can encourage people who choose to be disruptive to understand that for every disruption, for every innovation, you must learn how to communicate the value behind it. If you are not able to communicate the value behind such, no matter the beauty, no matter the pieces behind your innovation, it will fall like a pack of cards. Obobola is saying, God bless you, Dr. Bimbo. What exactly do we want to see? If we know the conversation, if we know then the conversation and change can begin. All right, okay. So that's fine. Let me ask you this question, right? I know that most times we normally use the word low-hanging fruits. We use the word. So what are the quick wins with regards to this out of option dilemma or trilemma? Let's hear from you.
Trilemma.
Okay, maybe it's even quadrilemma, but the options that are more easily available to us is the person that is right next to you. That's the very first low-hanging fruit that we have, because the fact that I may be in a situation where I'm tired and I need to make a decision, but because I'm tired, my thinking is already hampered. But if I'm able to run my dilemma by the person next to me, they can look at it with fresher eyes. So if this bad belly thing, we take it out of the way. That competition, we take it out of the way. That thinking of, oh, if I share this thing with the next person, they may steal my idea. Let them steal your idea. Now, implementing it is a different thing. If I tell somebody now, for instance, that I want to relocate out of the country, what do you think I should do regarding maybe regarding a particular thing? If they also want to leave the country, all well and good. There is space for everybody to go. So we should leverage on the person that is right next to us. That is a wealth of resources. Another thing is, we really need to, we can't understate the importance of reading. When we read, it helps us even when we really feel like, oh, there is nothing else I can do. You come across different ideas, and those things you really do not have to spend money to be able to read good books or to have access to good literature. We mostly have access to the internet. You can go online and just pick a subject of, I do that a lot. I just pick a subject of interest, or this thing of you open Google Chrome, and then there's suggested reading or news items and all of that. It may be totally unrelated to my interest, but I just read it. And then when it maybe I'm in a position where I need to make a decision, I could just remember, oh, I have read this thing, and well, this person. I also like some TV shows that generally are not well thought of to be like interesting or stuff like that. But then it gives me options. So for me, low hanging fruits are, in fact, maybe they're not even low hanging. Maybe they're lying on the table. We just need to pick them. Use the media. Use it to your advantage. Use it to store up your options bank. Just deposit into your options bank from those things that are really lying around, from discussions with friends, from hearing, listening to the news. Sometimes you hear, oh, this happened, and like the thing about the cultural day at what was that? What was that school that in the news today? That could be stored in the options bank. Oh, by the time I want to have maybe a cultural discussion with my class, how do we do it? How do we go about it? We can store that there. And looking at those things, I mean, we can keep going on and on and on and looking at those things that are really, really right under our noses. It tells us that we really cannot run out of options.
Thank you so much. Before we have our last comment on the show, I think we really need to take the grants for the day. So I'm going to ask. Okay, let me take it myself. I'll take it myself. Right. So the grant for the day is Stewardship Foundation. Stewardship Foundation, and the deadline is rolling, meaning that you can you can apply all year round. So there's no deadline, and the grant amount range is between $1,000 to $10,000. And of course, it's scrolling on the screen. You can look at that. The website for application is also there, www.stewardshipfdn.org. You can actually take time out to apply for these grants. The application type is for non-profit funding uses. If you have projects, you have programs, you have education outreach, you can actually also apply for this grant. And of course, the areas of consideration is Kenya, Ghana, Cameroon, Liberia, Nigeria, South Africa, Tanzania, and United Republic of Uganda. And I believe that for those who are trying to branch out to do stuff within the African corridor, grants like this present opportunities for you to, apply to venture out. So it's not necessarily
The internet is showing itself already. Oh, okay. It looks like there's a lag, maybe not even a lag, there is a freezing on on his end. But essentially running through the grants. I think he had practically run through the grants, the location of projects, Cameroon, Ghana, Kenya, Liberia, Nigeria, South Africa, Tanzania, and the Republic of Uganda. And the type of, I think I saw something there about the type of projects for non-profit funding users, project program, education, outreach. So those that are involved, I think it can be applied for by both organizations and individuals, I believe. So please take advantage of these grants. Because it's rolling, there's a tendency to want to take a pause on it, but as much as possible, just dig in as fast and as early as you can. Okay, so back to you. Back to you.
okay. So let's have our closing remarks. We'll start with TT, go to Dr. Bimbo, and then Fee. So parting shots on the show, TT.
Well, I think when we are never out of options, let's never consider let's never get to that level where we think that we are completely out of options. There are options. It might not be the best, not the most ideal, but really something to start with. I think that's it from me.
Okay.
All right. So for me, it's about the same. It's like I started with, it's the mindset, it's your approach. I like how Rotimi has also said site set, right? So there are so many options, out there. At times, also, I think if you are in a place where you begin to really feel and think and, is manifesting that this place is not serving you and making you, sort of adding to the issue of you feeling that you're out of options, then you might want to move as well, right? You might want to move. You might want to just, I always say that you're not a tree. If somewhere is not serving you, then maybe think of moving to a place that can, um, serve your agenda and your vision for your life and, your family and something like that. So that's the last word for me.
Thank you very much.
And from me, I would say keep your mind open, keep your options open, be willing to change. Because it's always works in a particular way, or because you have examples of people that a particular option did not work for the way they desired, does not mean that it's going to be that way for you. So keep your options open, be willing to try, be willing to try something else, get out of your comfort zone. There is always a way around this situation.
I love the way she ended yesterday and she's ending again today. There's always a way around situations. So there's going to be a way around today's goodbye. So I've come again, Abby. All right. So we're going to say our goodbyes today in Titi's voice tonality. So, there's a way Titi says, hello. So that's the way we're going to say it's always a great morning on the Good Morning Education Show. So she drags that as show, that kind of thing. So at the count of 3, Titi, you're a mentor. You are ready? 1, 2, 3.
It's always a great, fabulous, awesome, wonderful morning. Good morning, education.
All right, thank you so much. Have a great morning. Goodbye. See you tomorrow.